Hey, Miss Ring, I completed my math test. Good. But did you show your work? Oh, it looks like I didn't. Sounds like a zero for you, young lady. Always show your work.
Hey, let's go over 1.55, solving quadratic equations by completing the square. We're going to put everything kind of together. All right, number one, let's complete this. Do this with me. So do this with me. It's going to tell us to solve this one by completing the square. X squared plus 18x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, the first thing I want you to recognize is the left side is not factorable. Not factorable, right? If you did something like a times c is -4 and your b value is 18, there are no two numbers that multiply to be -4 but add to be 18. It's impossible. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here in this problem is add 4 to both sides. Let me erase that. Okay, I'm going to highlight this part. Let's pick a different color. This left side here now represents a particular form. And in order to complete the square, it must be in this form of x squared plus bx. Another way of saying that is move the c value. Move c. Move the constant to the other side. Okay, so here I'm going to complete the square. And that's what we did in 1.54 with our formula b over 2 squared. Well, my b value, a, b, is at 18. So now I'm going to take half of 18, which is 9. And 9 squared is 81. So in some ways, our new c value is 81. Remember we kind of did that in the last problem? Okay, so let me highlight this now. Now pay attention. You cannot just add 81 here to the left side. That would not be fair. Today's Halloween, so it would be kind of weird if someone came to my door and I looked at the person and they were wearing a Clippers jersey. I say, hey, here's 81 pieces of candy. And the same person, another person in the same group is wearing the Lakers. And I was like, I don't like them Lakers. I'm not going to give them 81 pieces of candy. No, I got to be fair. So, if we add 81 to this left side here where the highlight is, we must add 81 to the right side. Okay, so we're kind of putting all the skills together. In orange, we completed the square, and normally we would just write 81 there in the orange box, but now we have to add it to both sides. The reason why we must do that is it keeps balance. Again, I can't just add 81 pieces of candy to one person in the group. You have to add it to both parties. Okay, now what does this allow us to do? This allows us to now take our A, B, and C in the orange box and factor that. A times C is 81. My b value is 18, and we can do the same thing we've been doing. Take half of 18, that would be 9 and 9. So 9x, 9x. That will always go here and here. And you have x squared, and you have 81. And so we just take the greatest common factor, which would be x, positive 9, x, and positive 9. So I have x plus 9, x plus 9. And remember now we can just combine that to be a perfect trinomial, perfect square trinomial. And then we can just go ahead and solve this. So basically what we're doing here is just all of our skills are coming together, right? Remember you're taking the square root of both sides. Gone, gone, gone. Remember, don't forget the plus or minus. square root of 85. You cannot break that down. And I'm just going to subtract 9. So x is going to be equal to negative 9 plus or minus square root of 85. And this, my friends, I'm going to note is an exact answer because there are no decimals. So if it said something like round to the nearest tenth, then you would convert it to a decimal. So let's review what we did. Wait, saving image. Come on. The yellow original problem was not factorable. So I moved the C value so I can get that orange box, and then the orange star says CTS, complete the square. It has to be x squared plus bx, or basically the a and b are on the left side and the c on the right side. That's why I said move the C value. Well, we did this thing. Let me see if I can kind of separate it. We did something called completing the square. I don't know if that makes sense. We did something called completing the square. Taking the b value, half of it, square it, we got 81. Well, what's different in this problem is the C value now must go on both left and right. You see that with a highlight? And then you just factor it, perfect square trinomial, square root property, subtract 9, and then you have an exact answer. Okay, where are my directions? For questions 25, 30, complete 3, so go ahead and skip 3 problems. Number 25. Again, you cannot factor this. A times C is 36 and negative 13. There are two numbers that multiply to be 36 but then add to be negative 13. So we're going to move the C value. So now it's in this form. X squared minus 13x equals negative 36. Okay, now I'm going to do the completing the square. So that formula is b over 2 squared. In this case, my b value is negative 13. Okay, so this would give us negative 13 times negative 13 is 169, and 2 squared is 4. So this in some ways is my new C value. Okay, so that means, whoops, I'm going to take this now and put it on both sides. So if you get a big idea here that if you had to solve and it doesn't tell you like use completing square, it just says solve, I would not use a problem just like we were doing where b is odd, because what happens is I have to use a fraction. So 169 over 4, you can put this over 1 to prepare yourself, and if you're going to work on the right side, I'm just going to multiply by 4 over 4. So this would give us negative 4 extra 2, negative 144 over 4. And you can add the numerators. So this would give you 50 over 4. On the left side, now you can go ahead and factor. A times C is going to be 169 over 4. Our B value is negative 13. Remember, you can just take that number and make it a half. What's half of that? Negative 13 halves, we call it. A second way to get my numbers in red here is to go down to the CTS. See it? It's right there. So 2 ways to find those red numbers. Remember, it's splitting this term, because if you add those 2 together, you'll get negative 26 over 2, which is just negative 13. So those go here and here. You have x squared goes here, and 169 over 4. Greatest common factor is x, negative 13 halves, x, and negative 13 halves. Remember, 169 is negative from over here, negative 13 halves times negative 13 halves. Okay? All right, so that gives us x minus 13 halves squared. Well, I guess I can just take this, well, move it over and duplicate it, because right there, duplicate it again because it's going to be squared. And then we could take the square root of both sides. So these are gone, so you have x minus 13 halves equals, okay, got a couple of things going on here, so I don't want to forget, you're going to always put the plus or minus. Okay, this next part is going to be the square root of 50, so if you're not sure how to do the square root of fractions, you can separate them, because they're both inside the house. Does that make sense? And let's go ahead and just simplify that. So I'm going to have x minus 13 halves equals, and I'm putting a little gap right here. So plus or minus square root of 50 is 25 times 2, so that would be 5 radical 2 over 2. And then you're just going to move this over right in that gap right there. It's to the left. And you're going to get x equals 13 halves plus or minus 5 radical 2 over 2. And to make that super clean, if you wanted to, because they have the common denominator, you can do 13 plus or minus 5 radical 2 all over 2 is your answer. And for question number 25, that is not our answer. Thirteen halves. What did I do over here? 160. What happened there? All right, 169. 169. That'll give us 25 over 4. Okay, this is helpful. So that would just give us radical 25, which would give us just 5 halves. And if that is the case, if you combine those, you'll get x equals 13 plus or minus 5 over 2. 13 plus 5 is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. And 13 minus 5 is 8. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So there is our answer. 9 and 4 is our answer. 2 and 18. Ha ha ha. I was like, I was thinking basically the original problem up here. That means it was factorable. Look, it's x minus 9, x plus 4. No, that would not work. X minus 9, x minus 4. But again, if they're telling you to use the completing the square method, then you must use it. 26. Again, we must use completing the square, so we're going to move the c value to the right. x squared plus x equals 6. From here, I'm going to use the completing the square formula. B over 2 squared. My b value is 1, so 1/2 squared is going to be 1/4. So now this value must be added to both sides. Okay, so if you factor this part, you're going to get a times c is 1/4. Your b value is 1. What two numbers? Again, here's a couple of ways you can do it. You can look at this number. And the second way is just taking the b value and divide by 2. And that's how you get 1/2. We're splitting this term right here. So those go here. Remember, don't be scared of fractions. Don't be scared of hard things. Okay, we have x squared. We have our c value. And remember, our c value is really just 1/2 times 1/2. So when I factor this, GCF x 1/2 x in 1/2. So this would give us x plus 1/2, x plus 1/2. This is going to be 6 over 1 to make it a fraction, and you see the denominator of 4, so I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4. So you're going to have 24 over 4 plus 1/4. So this will give us x plus 1/2 squared equals, we have a lowest common denominator of 4, so I can add the fraction 24 plus 1, just the numerator, so I get 25 over 4. We're going to take the square root. Gone, 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 so you have x plus 1/2 equals, plus or minus, I left a gap there, square root of 25 over the square root of 4. So this will give you, subtract 1/2, we get this all together. X equals negative 1/2 plus or minus, square root of 25 is 5, square root of 4 is 2. And you can have negative 1 plus 5 is 4, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6, and negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Remember, you can just separate this. And that's how I got my two answers. Number 27. We have to solve this by completing the square. So I'm going to move the c value. Now it's in the form of x squared plus bx. I need that because in completing the square, I have to take my b value and square it. So negative 4 divided by 2. Are you guys happy it's an even number? I am. Negative 2 squared. So my c value is going to be 4. Guys, use different colors, use the highlighter, that's why I'm using it. The c value has to go on both sides. So now I have plus 4 equals 13 plus 4. Okay? Now I can just factor here on the left side. A times c is 4, my b value is negative 4. my two numbers are going to be what? -2 and -2. And an x here. X squared plus 4 x minus 2 x minus 2. Some of you guys are getting really good at that. You don't need to show x in the box as your answer, like showing work in math. A lot of students can even do this in your head. That's what we were required to do. So x minus 2 squared equals 17. Gone, gone, gone. There are no two identical numbers that multiply to be 17. They're really close to a decimal. So we'll just leave that square root of 17 and then just need to add 2. It goes to the left of the plus minus, the left. X equals 2 plus or minus radical 17. Number 28. Let's move the c value to the right. Okay, we're going to complete the square. So CTS, b over, take half of b and square it. So my b value is going to be 3. So that would be 3 squared over 2 squared, which is be 9 over 4. To complete the square, the c value must be 9 over 4. I'm going to take this value now and do that to both sides. If you notice, your c value will always be positive because you're what? You're squaring. Okay, now we're just going to factor this. So a times c is going to be 9/4. My b value is going to be 3. What is half of 3? Well, it's called 3 halves, or 3 over 2, or 1.5. Now, keep these fractions. I know that you might be tempted to change it to a decimal. Remember, another way of finding that number is right here. Splitting this term, so let's add an x. 3 halves plus 3 halves equals 6 halves, 6 over 2. You have x squared, 9/4. And now take out the greatest common factor. This direction would be x, 3 halves, x, and 3 halves. So you will get x plus 3 halves, x plus 3 halves. Over here you have over 1. The denominator is 4. So I'm going to get 24 over 4 plus 9 over 4. This will give us 33 over 4. And over here we'll have x plus 3 halves squared. Let's take the square root. Bye, bye, bye. Remember, I have the plus or minus. Okay, so the square root of 33 we cannot break down, but the square root of 4 is 2, so that can come out of the radical. Minus 3 halves to the left here of the plus or minus. X equals negative 3 halves plus or minus radical 33 over 2. You can take this one step further and make it super clean because you have a denominator of 2. So negative 3 plus or minus radical 33 over 2. And that is our answer. Number 29. Okay, we're going to add the c value. Reason why we do that is so that it's in this form right here, x squared minus x. I do that so I can do completing the square. b over 2 squared. My b value is -1. So -1/2, another way of saying exponents is just saying you have 2 of these by multiplication, so my c value is going to equal +1/4. In order to add 1/4 to the left side, we have to do it to the right side, properties of equality. This is called addition property of equality. Okay, on the left side now we can factor. Let's go ahead and factor this. So a times c would be 1/4. My b value is going to be -1. Here's the answer, -1/2. You could have also just taken the b value divided by 2 and get that -1/2 for the red. Let's put an x there because if I add -1/2 x and -1/2 x, you get -1x. Critical thinking is this process is long. Yes. Is it necessary? It is in certain situations, but if you can, do not use complete the square if you have an odd value for b, such as in this problem, 1/4. Now there is an advantage of why you put it into this form, and we'll talk about that very soon. Greatest common factor is x, -1/2, x, and -1/2. So you will get x minus 1/2 squared put this over 1, denominator is 4/4, so you get 12/4. That'll be 13/4. Take the square root. Gone, gone, gone. Don't forget the plus or minus. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, thank goodness it did not erase. Sometimes it does that. I'm going to press done. It's saving. We'll come back to it. Sorry. I've had some times where it just closes and no. Need to edit. And now we can just add 1/2 here. And that little gap right there, x equals 1/2 plus or minus radical 13/2. And then you can just clean that up one more step. X equals 1 plus or minus radical 13 because they're all over a denominator of 2. And that is our answer. And the last one, number 30. Let's go ahead and move the c value to the right. Okay, this is the form that we wanted. A and b are on one side, and c is on the right side. I'm going to do something called completing the square, which has a formula of b over 2 squared. Or take that b value, which is -8. Take half of it, so you get -4. And this is now my new c value, 16. Alright, in order to do that, you're going to have to take the c value and now do it to both sides of the equation. So plus 16 and plus 16. It Doesn't change the equation in terms of it's still balanced. And then here we can just factor. Okay, a times c is 16. My b value is -8. My two numbers, -4 and -4, are splitting, so you must add an x. They always go in that order. And now we just take the greatest common factor out. X minus 4 squared, and this becomes 81. 6 square root. Gone, gone, gone. X minus 4 equals, don't forget your plus or minus here. Two identical numbers are multiplied to be 81. The answer is 9. And then if I just add 4 here, you're going to get x equals 4 plus or minus 9. You might be asking, when do I know to simplify this? Well, just separate them. You will get 13 and -5. So that is 1.55 solving by completing the square. We'll see you guys later. Bye.